it's me again, Aki from Bring Forth, and this is 31 part 2, and I'd like to discuss some more about why Islamic immigration instead of immigration with China, US, or Russia. Historically, Islam and Europe have been very close to one another. They have been, if not allies, then not enemies for a very long time. They haven't had a historic anger towards one another for a long time. So the European Union, being essentially the fourth largest or the fourth most powerful entity in the world after US, Russia and China, needs to expand itself to find a proper resource or a proper ground for itself to have a successful future. And they are thinking that using the Arabic nations and slowly expanding towards Africa as a unified blob instead of various nations waging territorial war in each other would be the right choice. So from that point of view, the Arabic nations are the logical direction, but since they are so ethnically homogeneous, it's very difficult to get them to ally with a country or a region that's also ethnically homogeneous. So we're beating them to the punch and allowing immigrants from their region to integrate into our region in a hope that acting with us will get them to change their thinking and cause a upsurge in their own country that will make the situation better for us and for them to actually join us. So, because we know that the European Union, if it stands on its own and its current size, will fail. There is a historic precedent for such a nation existing in Europe and it consistently failing if it stays as just a European affair. We will eventually find a reason to start fighting with one another again. So, if we get the Arabic nations in and have a secular state spanning from the North Sea to the Indian Sea, then it is large enough to survive on its own and become the dominant superpower, at least in theory. And all players of this game want to be the dominant superpower. They don't want to be the second best. So we are tolerating a lot of things from the Islamic community in an attempt to get the political situation such that we can actually have a reform in their systems to get them to join us. So, China has the population, US has the technology, and Russia has the weapons, and European Union has basically a hope. That's all it has. So we're seeing a dismantling of the state because of its inability to deal with its basically economic situation. The immigration policy would work if we had the jobs and the places to put these people, but because we don't have the jobs, because we don't have a unified project of what we're doing, so we don't have the offer of employment for these people, and they find no hope here, even though we are attempting to find hope as our main goal. It's kind of simplified, one might say, but that is, as far as I can tell, the situation. In my view, it would be nice if the European Union became the global superpower, but that's probably not going to happen. We are probably going to see the region disband and resume its internal wars, and it's going to affect the rest of us badly, but that is what I think will probably happen. Now, Islamic immigrants are currently, depending on the source, around 4.5 times more likely to commit crimes, and that's because the crimes that they commit are from a population of something like 20,000. There are 400 criminals who do all the crimes. Like I said, it's soldiers from previous wars trying to continue their wars in a new country, and this is what we need to remove from the population as quickly as possible. And we are seeing a requirement for the European Union to increase its military size, so individual countries should increase their military power, because it is difficult to build a military in a crisis. Previously, when I was a campaigner, I said that we should reduce the military to fund the expense of the civilian sector, but we should keep this as a thing we might actually change if the situation warrants it, and I'm saying the situation now warrants it. We should change the attitude and build a larger military. I also have a scientific study I would like to do. I'm proposing it here, but I don't think that I'll get the funding for it through here because it will cost some dozens of millions to do. And I don't really know if there's anything else to say about this. Oh yeah, since Trump is powering the carbon energy in his own country again, the price of renewables everywhere else is going down, so the global average of how much renewables we have is remaining the same. And wind power is roughly continuing to increase by 50% per year for the past 30 years, so eventually these alternative power sources will win. And when that happens, coal and oil will become very cheap, and this will tank the economy of the Arabic region as well as African regions. And if we are in a good position, then we can possibly have the expanded European Union, but that is not sure. So what the European Union is doing is using its military industry to build civilian things like wind power, but that is something we should slow down and focus on building an actual military. I'm proposing that in Finland we go from 50 fighter planes, 25,000 active soldiers and 5,000 police officers to about 150 military jets, about 75,000 soldiers and about 20,000 police officers. It's not a massive increase, but it is all we need for the crime rate to drop to 3 cases out of 100 instead of 9 cases out of 100 because the police are clearly undefended. So similar slow things we have to do. But overall, I believe the Islamic immigration will work because their countries will topple themselves and they will become more secular on their own. And the immigrants that are over here will most likely adjust to life as soon as they understand that the European Union will actually respond to their crime and it will actually happen. Currently, the Islamic region is debating becoming a single superpower, but they don't have the means, they don't have the desire to become an Islamic superstate, so they will most likely, as you can see, it's not a majority of European guys fighting against the ISIS, it's guys from Algeria and from Morocco and from these developed Arabic countries fighting against ISIS. It's the Syrian government, the developed guys fighting against ISIS, so these guys don't have the power to turn the entire region into a single caliphate, so the next option is joining some kind of European Union. So hopefully the situation will resolve itself and we don't need a major war, but time will tell.